power is not given it, is seized, and in this world, money is the most silent, yet most lethal weapon. Those who possess it can bend others to their will, shape alliances, and control destinies without spilling a drop of blood. Yet most men squander their wealth, blind to its true potential. Today, I will reveal the hidden power of money not as currency, but as a tool to dominate, influence, and secure your place at the top. Learn how to wield it wisely, and you will discover the secret few ever master. True power lies in the hands of those who know how to use money as a weapon. Money is often mistaken for a simple means of exchange, a tool for buying goods or securing comfort. Yet those who understand its true nature recognize it as far more potent. In the hands of the wise, money is not merely wealth. It is influence, leverage, and a form of authority that can shape the actions of men and the course of events. The man who clings to the superficial value of money, treating it as nothing more than a way to acquire possessions or display status, is blind to its hidden power. True power comes not from the accumulation of gold alone, but from the subtle control it affords. When used strategically, money becomes a silent hand that moves the world, an invisible force that bends others to your will without the need for open confrontation or violence. Those who recognize this can command loyalty, create opportunities, and secure advantages that cannot be wrested from them by mere strength or popularity. Understanding money as influence means understanding that every coin you spend carries the potential to shape behavior, forge alliances, and extract favors. It is not the amount you possess, but the precision with which you deploy it that matters. The wise observer will see that men are always motivated by interest, desire, and need. To hold their attention, to gain their compliance, one must control these motivators. Money becomes a key that opens doors otherwise barred, a means of persuasion that requires no argument or coercion. The powerful know that subtlety in spending is far more effective than ostentation. A small, well-placed gesture of wealth can inspire loyalty, gratitude, or dependence far more effectively than a display of abundance that overwhelms or intimidates. Each expenditure is a calculated move on the board of human relationships. Each investment a step toward consolidating influence. Those who fail to see money as influence act as if they are playing a game of strength with only their bare hands, while the clever play with a tool that is infinitely more potent and far-reaching. Money can secure silence, encourage action, and manipulate perception. A gift, a loan, or a favor extended at the right moment can bind others to you in ways that no force of argument can achieve. In this way, wealth becomes not just a resource but a strategy, a means to control the decisions of men, shape their attitudes, and create a sphere of influence that extends beyond your immediate reach. Recognizing the latent power of money requires observing human nature without illusions. Men are motivated by their desires, often blind to the intentions of others, and the one who can predict these desires and meet them strategically will always hold the upper hand. Money can smooth tensions, inspire trust, or induce compliance, but only if wielded with calculation and restraint. It is not enough to possess it. One must know when, where, and how to use it to bend circumstance to one's favor. The foolish equate wealth with freedom, believing that abundance alone grants security or authority. Yet those who wield it with cunning understand that true power is in the influence it generates. By controlling resources, one controls choice. By controlling choice, one controls action. Those who grasp this principle can maneuver in a world of uncertainty with confidence, shaping events, alliances, and fortunes through the subtle application of money as influence, rather than treating it as a mere token of comfort or indulgence. Money is most dangerous and effective when it is not merely possessed, but carefully directed toward shaping the hearts and actions of others. The wise understand that loyalty is not born of sentiment or duty alone. It is forged through calculated investment in those whose allegiance one requires. To wield influence effectively, one must recognize that men are moved by interest, fear, and desire far more reliably than by abstract notions of honor or virtue. Money, when strategically deployed, becomes a tool to secure devotion, to bind others to your will, and to ensure that your position remains unchallenged. Giving wealth indiscriminately achieves nothing. It is not generosity for its own sake that matters, but the perception of favor and the obligation it creates. A single, well-timed gift, a bonus, or an unexpected act of support can transform a mere acquaintance into a devoted ally, instilling a sense of indebtedness that may endure far longer than fear or persuasion alone. Yet loyalty bought through money is fragile if it is given without purpose or discernment. One must identify those whose allegiance is crucial, those whose actions can influence outcomes in your favor, and direct resources in a way that maximizes their dependency on you. The goal is not to create slaves, but partners whose interests are aligned with yours, whose success is tied to your own, and whose capacity to act against you is constrained by the very wealth you provide. Timing is as important as generosity. Money offered at the moment of need, when a man is exposed, vulnerable, or seeking opportunity, binds more tightly than a constant, predictable stream of resources that breeds complacency or expectation. It is in the scarcity of the gesture and the precision of its delivery that influence becomes most potent. The one who understands this can turn allies into loyalists, who act not merely out of gratitude, but out of recognition that their prosperity and well-being are intertwined with your favor. Furthermore, loyalty cultivated through wealth is not always visible or acknowledged. Often, its power lies in subtlety, in the quiet recognition that someone owes you more than words can express. This debt becomes a tool for shaping decisions, guiding behavior, and even influencing thought without the need for open commands or threats. Those who fail to recognize this fail to see money as a strategic instrument. They assume that power lies in dominance, in the ability to demand compliance, when in reality, it is in the creation of dependency and obligation that authority is solidified. One must also balance reward with restraint. Overindulgence breeds entitlement and diminishes respect, while judicious application fosters reverence and attentive loyalty. The careful observer notes that people are motivated by both gratitude and fear, and the wise manipulates both through calculated use of resources. By providing for those whose cooperation is valuable, you secure a network of allies who act in ways that protect your interests and expand your influence. In this way, money becomes more than wealth. It becomes a mechanism for power, a bridge connecting intent with action. Those who understand how to use it to cultivate loyalty move like shadows in the corridors of influence, unseen but controlling the currents of events, shaping the allegiances that define victory or defeat. Loyalty built in this manner is resilient, because it is so intertwined with personal gain, making it far more reliable than bonds based solely on affection, ideology, or superficial gratitude. When directed with cunning, money does not merely reward. It ensures compliance, inspires action, and consolidates authority, making the wise ruler, strategist, or leader capable of achieving outcomes far beyond the reach of brute force or empty promises. In this understanding lies the essence of strategic wealth. It is not for display, but for securing the unwavering allegiance of those whose support defines the boundaries of power. True power is rarely exercised through force alone. It is most secure when others rely upon you for their needs, their opportunities, and their survival. Dependence is the invisible chain that binds men more effectively than any sword or threat. The wise understand that those who are independent can act freely, resist influence, and challenge authority, while those who are dependent are constrained, guided, and aligned with the interests of the one upon whom they rely. To create dependence is to convert resources, skills, or knowledge into a lever that shapes the behavior of others. Money, information, or opportunity extended strategically can place another in a position where their choices are circumscribed by the need to maintain access to what only you can provide. Those who fail to recognize this remain at the mercy of circumstance, believing that authority can be secured by position or reputation alone, when in reality the bonds of reliance are far stronger than any formal title. To make others dependent, one must first understand their desires and vulnerabilities. Every man has needs, some obvious, some hidden, and by positioning oneself as the indispensable provider, one creates an invisible but unbreakable influence over action and thought. This dependence need not always be material. It can be psychological, social, or informational. When someone perceives that their success, security, or even survival is intertwined with your decisions, they act in alignment with your interests, often without direct instruction. Subtlety is crucial. Dependence cannot appear coercive. For those who recognize the manipulation may resist or resent it. It must appear natural, beneficial, and mutually advantageous, while in reality it is a carefully constructed network of obligations that ties the other to your will. Control through dependence is more secure than control through fear. For fear can be resisted, questioned, or provoked into rebellion, whereas dependence becomes self-reinforcing. The dependent man acts not out of threat, but because his own interests demand compliance. And in doing so, he strengthens your position and diminishes his own autonomy without realizing it. This principle applies to relationships, alliances, and networks of influence. The one who can make others reliant upon resources, knowledge, or opportunity becomes the center of power, shaping decisions from behind the scenes. Even the strongest or most ambitious will bend when their prosperity, reputation, or survival depends upon your favor. Yet creating dependence requires patience, calculation, and precision. It is not a matter of giving everything freely or holding everything back entirely. It is the careful balance of supply and scarcity that binds others most effectively. Those who overextend themselves risk creating entitlement or waste, while those who withhold excessively may provoke desperation or rebellion. The art is to place oneself as the indispensable fulcrum around which the other's world turns, ensuring that their choices consistently benefit you. Observing human nature reveals that few resist convenience and reward when offered through dependence, and fewer still recognize the subtlety of the bond until it is firmly established. In this, the creator of dependence becomes the master of circumstance, the silent architect of action, and the unseen hand that directs outcomes, without appearing to do so. By making others reliant on your resources, decisions, or favor, you reduce the uncertainty of human behavior, convert potential opposition into obedience, and secure a network of allies whose self-interest aligns with your dominance. The dependent will defend, advance, and protect your position as if it were their own, not out of loyalty to virtue or principle, but because their own well-being is tied to your provision. Thus, dependence becomes the most strategic of all forms of control, a web woven invisibly yet inseparably connecting your power. 2. The actions, choices, and successes of those who depend upon you, ensuring that influence is maintained even when overt force is unnecessary or impractical. Power is most enduring when it is concealed beneath the appearance of virtue. Generosity is one of the most effective masks a ruler or strategist can wear, for it allows influence to be exercised without provoking resistance or envy. Tuhibe, openly without calculation, is to expose oneself to loss and to the perception of weakness. Yet when generosity is employed strategically, it becomes a tool that commands loyalty, inspires gratitude, and consolidates authority while leaving others unaware of the underlying control being exercised. The wise understand that appearances shape perception, and perception shapes reality. By presenting oneself as generous, one can manipulate the opinions of others, making them view acts of self-interest as acts of benevolence. The recipients of favors, rewards, or resources rarely pause to question the motives behind them. They accept what is given and respond with compliance, loyalty, or admiration. This is the subtle power of masking ambition behind kindness. It is not enough to simply give. The timing, the manner, and the context of generosity determine its effectiveness. A well-timed gift, extended in a moment of need, carries far more weight than continuous largesse. For scarcity amplifies value. By appearing magnanimous at the right moments, one can shape the behavior of others, ensuring that they act in ways that serve your interests while believing they are responding to goodwill rather than manipulation. Masked generosity also shields power from direct challenge. Those who see only kindness rarely suspect strategy, and thus do not anticipate resistance. The strategic mind leverages this perception, using favors to create obligation, indebtedness, and dependence, without ever revealing the full extent of control. Furthermore, generosity must be calibrated to context. Giving too much can breed arrogance, waste, or suspicion, while giving too little may fail to inspire the desired loyalty. The recipients of generosity become instruments of influence, their choices shaped by gratitude or obligation, yet their perception is that they are acting freely and independently. In this way, power operates invisibly, exercised without coercion and reinforced by the natural desire of others to reciprocate kindness. The wise also recognize that the appearance of generosity enhances reputation. Reputation, in turn, extends influence beyond immediate interactions. Those who are perceived as benevolent attract allies, deter rivals, and command respect even before action is taken. Masked generosity thus becomes a strategic multiplier. It strengthens control over individuals, while amplifying authority in the broader social or political arena. However, the key to this approach lies in subtlety and calculation. Generosity must never reveal the ambition it conceals. It must appear spontaneous, natural, and free of ulterior motives. The power behind it is invisible, precisely because it is unrecognized. Recipients act in accordance with your interests, guided by the bonds of gratitude or dependence, while remaining oblivious to the orchestrated nature of the influence. Over time, such actions consolidate power more securely than force or intimidation ever could, for they cultivate loyalty, create networks of obligation, and shape perceptions in ways that resist challenge. The prudent strategist understands that generosity is not an end, but a means, a tool to achieve influence, to extend control, and to strengthen position. By masking power behind acts of benevolence, one turns human perception into an ally, and human action into a mechanism that advances one's objectives without the need for overt assertion. This principle is timeless because it exploits the natural tendencies of human psychology. Gratitude, reciprocity, and the desire to align with those perceived as strong or virtuous. In mastering the art of masked generosity, one secures influence, preserves resources, and ensures that power operates in ways that are subtle, enduring, and almost invisible, leaving others unaware of the force that guides their choices, loyalty, and actions. Debt is one of the most subtle yet powerful tools of influence, far more enduring than force or fear. A man who owes another is not free. He is constrained by obligation, compelled to act in ways that preserve favor and avoid reprisal. To weaponize debt is to transform what is often seen as a burden into a mechanism of control. Yet debt is not merely monetary. It can take the form of favors, access, or opportunity. By offering resources at the right moment, or withholding them strategically, one shapes the choices, actions, and loyalties of others. Those who fail to perceive the power inherent in debt remain vulnerable, believing that only strength, intelligence, or reputation secures compliance, while in truth, the unseen chains of obligation bind more securely than any visible threat. A single loan, a timely opportunity, or a favor granted at a moment of vulnerability can tie another to your will, often without their conscious realization. The wise do not give indiscriminately, for indiscriminate generosity creates no leverage. Rather, they calculate the potential impact of every act, ensuring that what is offered creates dependency, gratitude, and alignment with their own objectives. Similarly, the careful use of opportunity-granting access, opening doors, or providing rare advantages creates a network of obligation and reliance. Those who receive opportunities at your discretion are less likely to act contrary to your interests, for their success, advancement, or security is contingent upon your continued support. Debt and opportunity thus become instruments of influence, shaping the environment and the behavior of those within it. One must also understand the psychological dimensions of this principle. Men fear being indebted, yet they are often willing to accept obligation in exchange for advantage. The clever strategist leverages this tension, offering precisely the measure of support that binds without provoking resentment or suspicion. Those who understand this can orchestrate outcomes from behind the scenes, guiding decisions and alliances while maintaining the appearance of benevolence or neutrality. Timing is critical. The greatest leverage is achieved when debt or opportunity is provided at moments of need, when the recipient is vulnerable, ambitious, or seeking advancement. A favor extended too early, too late, or without context may be wasted or ignored. The strategic mind anticipates the needs, desires, and weaknesses of others, deploying resources at the exact moment when they will exert maximum influence. Moreover, Weaponizing debt and opportunity is a long-term game. It is not about momentary advantage, but the accumulation of subtle obligations that gradually consolidate power. Those who become entangled in this web of reliance act in accordance with your will, often believing their actions are self-directed, while in truth they are responding to the conditions you have created. There is also an element of deterrence in this strategy. The knowledge that access, opportunity, or support is controlled by you encourages careful behavior, discourages betrayal, and promotes alignment with your objectives. In this way, the apparent generosity or openness of opportunity masks a system of control, invisible yet potent, shaping choices and securing loyalty. The strategist who masters this principle recognizes that power does not require confrontation. It requires orchestration. By controlling resources, favors, and opportunities, one manipulates the environment so that others act as instruments of one's will. Debt and opportunity, when wielded with precision, convert the independence of others into dependence, ambition into loyalty, and desire into obedience. Every obligation accepted, every opportunity seized at your discretion, strengthens the network of influence that surrounds you. The subtlety lies in maintaining the illusion of freedom while guiding behavior, ensuring that those under your influence remain unaware of the invisible hands that shape their success, decisions, and fortunes. In mastering this art, one does not merely hold wealth or power. One creates a system in which influence, opportunity, and obligation become inseparable, binding others to one's will while leaving them convinced of their own autonomy, and in doing so, transforms money, favors, and chance into weapons more effective than force, intimidation, or argument. Power is strengthened, not through display, but through strategic investment and influence. Many are deceived by appearances, believing that ostentation, luxury, or flamboyant demonstration of wealth signals strength, when in truth it often reveals weakness, invites envy, and distracts from the exercise of real authority. Vanity serves the eyes but rarely bends the wills of men, whereas influence, carefully cultivated, shapes behavior, controls outcomes, and ensures loyalty. The wise recognize that every resource expended must serve a purpose beyond mere display. It must extend reach, secure allegiance, or enhance one's capacity to maneuver within the complexities of human ambition. Influence is cultivated by identifying those whose decisions, perceptions, or actions can affect your objectives, and directing resources toward aligning their interests with your own. This may take the form of mentorship, subtle support, information sharing, strategic generosity, or access to opportunity. Each act, while appearing discretionary or incidental, reinforces the network of reliance, loyalty, and obligation that sustains authority. The pursuit of vanity, by contrast, is a hollow exercise. Spending to impress peers, flaunt wealth, or assert superficial dominance rarely engenders obedience. It provokes jealousy, rivalry, and scrutiny. Those who prioritize perception over strategy are vulnerable, for their power is dependent on recognition rather than substance, and recognition can be fleeting. Influence, on the other hand, operates quietly yet pervasively, extending reach into decisions, shaping and securing advantages invisible to those who measure strength superficially. The investment in influence requires patience and discernment. One must observe human nature, understand ambitions, vulnerabilities, and desires, and deploy resources in a way that maximizes leverage while minimizing exposure. Every favor, loan, opportunity, or act of assistance is an investment in a system that, if properly cultivated, yields returns far beyond the immediate act. These returns manifest not as gratitude alone, but as alignment of action, protection of position, and the subtle control of circumstance. The difference between influence and vanity is also temporal. Vanity may yield fleeting admiration, a temporary perception of grandeur, or the envy of rivals, but influence endures. It builds networks of support that persist even when appearances fade, creating resilience against challenge, opposition, and instability. The strategic mind invests where outcomes are multiplied, not merely observed. Wealth, knowledge, and resources are tools to shape reality, not to decorate it. By channeling efforts into influence, one creates a self-reinforcing cycle, Loyalty begets cooperation, cooperation generates opportunity, and opportunity consolidates authority. These effects accumulate over time, far surpassing the ephemeral impact of ostentatious display. Furthermore, influence is portable and adaptable. It can extend into spheres where visibility is low, shaping events and decisions without exposing the wielder to risk. Vanity, in contrast, is public, static, and easily countered. The observer of influence cannot always discern the source, leaving the strategist free to maneuver while others react to the outcomes rather than the cause. Strategic investment also involves recognizing the limitations of resources and focusing on those who matter most. Attempting to impress all is futile. Targeting key individuals whose alignment secures leverage over networks, decisions, or environment yields far greater returns. It is the multiplier effect of influence that distinguishes the wise from the vain. While vanity captures attention, influence captures action. The former can attract superficial admiration. The latter commands loyalty, compliance, and obedience. Power, therefore, is less about spectacle and more about subtle orchestration. To invest in influence rather than vanity is to understand that authority is exercised not through recognition alone, but through the ability to shape outcomes, guide behavior, and secure alignment with one's interests. Every act, decision, and allocation of resources must be measured by its capacity to enhance influence, not merely to signal it. In this way, one builds a durable, flexible, and effective foundation of power that cannot be easily undermined, and one's authority becomes a force that operates continuously, quietly and decisively shaping human action and circumstance, while remaining largely unseen, unchallenged, and unassailable. Power is not inherited, nor is it granted by chance. It is seized, cultivated, and defended through cunning, strategy, and the careful management of resources. Money, when understood not as mere currency, but as influence, becomes the instrument by which men bend the world to their will. Those who mastered the art of using wealth to secure loyalty, create dependence, mask ambition behind generosity, weaponize debt and opportunity, and invest in influence rather than vanity, hold a power that is silent, subtle, and unassailable. The world does not reward sentiment or fairness, it rewards foresight, decisiveness, and the ability to act where others are blind. To wield money as a weapon is to operate beyond mere transactions. It is to control perception, shape behavior, and orchestrate outcomes. The lessons I have shared are not for the faint of heart or the indecisive. They are for those who seek to move men, shape circumstances, and command authority with precision. Those who embrace them will find that true power is neither loud nor ostentatious. It is strategic, enduring, and invisible to all but the wise. The choice is simple. Allow wealth to remain a tool of comfort and vanity, or transform it into a force that secures influence, ensures loyalty, and shapes destiny itself.